everyone. Good morning, and welcome to another episode of the American Sports Connection. We're going to be going over the Roadblock, WWE Roadblock results from last night. Give me 1 minute, and I will add my good friend here to the conversation, and we'll talk about it. 1 moment.
And go.
Hello?
So,
Hey, what's going on?
you tell me.
Nothing exciting yet. It's too early.
Well, we can fix that.
All right, so last night, WWE Roadblock. We started off with New Day versus the League of Nations, which was King Barrett and Sheamus.
Right. The introductory UGG match. If you'll stay after this match, you're a real fan.
Yes.
The audience test match.
Basically, yeah, and to, I guess, annoy people because they had the opening segment where they just rambled for it got really weird.
Well, New Day. I mean, my legendary hatred, contempt for them. It's hard to imagine them getting more annoying, but I think they're getting a little too comfortable.
Yeah, well, it was just strange to see Big E, this huge man, it's probably 300 plus pounds, talking in like almost a female-like voice, making fun of the League of Nations.
Yeah, like a falsetto female voice.
That was kind of frightening.
Forever traumatized.
Then plus the thing of them bringing in the cereal with booty O's.
Just add milk and you get the smell of sweat and unwashed underwear.
Well, their whole shtick is, it says to eat your booty-os so you don't become booty.
Oh my God. Well, it's a nice companion piece to the unicorn sex toy.
Well, I don't know if I told you this. Rocky, when he came back a few weeks ago, called them llama penises.
No, you did not tell me that.
Yeah, he literally did call them that.
Oh man! But from what I understand, they're selling out.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is Chris in the chat here just said that their damn empty cereal boxes are being sold on WWEshop.com.
Lovely.
As we speak.
So they're not even putting out a real cereal.
Not to my knowledge.
Just a box. This is like a gag cereal box.
Yeah.
Okay. Add insult to injury. That's fine.
So I'm assuming that they're probably selling out regardless.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, this match was kind of like a test for them, I think, to test the audience, because they're technically a heel, the New Day, but the people like them.
Right.
So, with putting them with the League of Nations, who's already a heel tag team, I think they were trying to test the waters to see if they could turn them.
I think so too.
And they were going crazy for him there last night, so they passed with flying colors in that retrospect.
So they're going to be swinging on to good guy status. And can you talk a little bit about the King and the result of last night's match and how it plays into his status with the with WWE?
Yeah, I think he took the pin, obviously, because the New Day, they were not going to lose the titles when we're 3 weeks away from WrestleMania.
Right.
But I've gotten to the point, and someone else had mentioned this, that he's going to lose every single match he's going to have between now and when his contract is up.
And I would say, and I'd like to know if you agree with me, if that's not only just sort of a logistical thing because he's on his way out, but also probably an attempt by Vince to make him look as bad as possible.
It kind of feels like that, like it's a big fuck you.
Yes.
Where it's like, I'm going to make you look as weak as humanly possible before I get rid of you.
No shining recommendations from Vince Evans when you abandon him.
Yeah, it's just wild like that because the guy is really talented, but the problem he's always had is he can't stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean that's true, and they've never, from my viewpoint, I mean they've never really quite figured out what to do with him exactly.
Well, remember he won the King of the Ring.
Yes.
I don't remember exactly when it was last year, but ever since then, it's like he became a joke.
Yeah, and I think for some reason, I don't know why, I think his personality in the ring changed a little bit. He kind of became a satire of himself.
Well, remember there for a while he was doing the bad news gimmick, and the fans really took to that. And then they're like, no, you can't do that anymore.
Do you think that had any connection to the fact that he was leaving and they didn't want him to be too popular on his way out?
No, because this was some time ago, before the King gimmick.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I never really understood that anyway. They're like, well, you're a heel and you're not supposed to get over with the fans, but yet New Day's doing it every week.
Yeah, I mean, why is New Day allowed to kind of surpass that rule? You know, and frankly, you know, the guys that are better in the ring and more entertaining can't penetrate that wall. You know, that where the heel has to be booed and hissed and hated.
Right, it's 2016 where, you know, you could kind of bend it a little bit where you don't have to be so rigid with it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think it's a different wrestling audience now. I think that you have to try and appeal to the people that like the bad guys and who are drawn to the bad guys, and they're sort of, you know, they're sort of sinister, nasty machismo, you know?
Absolutely.
That's one of the ways that I think Vince has really fallen behind the eight ball. Is he doesn't understand how to use the appeal of the heel.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So, and you had mentioned before, too, that the fact that the King was teamed with Sheamus pretty much put the handwriting on the wall as to what the outcome of this match was going to be.
Absolutely. Well, the League of Nations itself is a joke because there's no one you can take seriously. They have Sheamus, King Barrett, Rusev, and Alberto Del Rio. Every single one of them is not really doing anything.
Yeah. It's like it's almost like a sub-league for all the guys who don't have any real appeal.
I know. It's like, well, when it's just like they just threw them together.
Exactly. I mean, there's no continuity with the characters where you can kind of connect them and say, well, this makes sense why these guys are all on a team.
The only reason they did it is because they're all from different countries, hence the name League of Nations.
Ah, okay.
That's the only continuity.
Well, that's pretty damn close to no continuity at all. I know they've really tried to elevate Sheamus. I remember when we watched that the money match that he won, and we were like, huh?
Yes, when he won the briefcase.
Yeah, when he won the briefcase match, and we all had to watch his the cross on his ass dance for 20 minutes in celebration. I know they really seem like somebody wanted him to reach the stars, but he's just totally he's vanilla ice cream in the ring. He is dull.
I noticed he's very what's the word I want to use? Like deliberate.
That's a friendly word for it. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's really, like, slow and...
Yep. He's almost like he's being cautious, like a guy that just learned all the moves, you know? Like, stick your arm out to the left. Now raise your foot and kick the guy in the nuts, you know?
All right, well, moving on. This next was Chris Jericho against Jack Swagger.
Okay. And how do you think that match had any significance for either wrestler's future?
The only thing it mattered was that they were trying to keep Chris Jericho looking strong as a heel for him to wrestle AJ Styles probably in about 3 weeks for WrestleMania.
I mean, it really was a decent match.
Yes, it wasn't bad, but it was just like there was no real point, I guess, other than to just get him to where people don't like him. Because he did say a lot of horrible things about Canada.
I think they're testing the waters with that douchebag thing, and I think my impression is that Swagger was just sort of a prepared opponent so that they could test out, they could test Jericho's douchebag heel routine, and like you said, just continue to present him as a very strong heel that's going to be difficult to defeat down the road.
Yeah, because that's all it basically was, because Jack Swagger hasn't been on television in months.
It has been a while.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Mm-hmm. The next match was the NXT Tag Team title match, which was with Enzo and Cass against Dash and Dawson. This was a really good match. Excuse me. Enzo and Cass remind me a lot of a young Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash.
And I'm curious, why Nash?
Because Cass is the really huge man that's about 7 foot tall.
Oh, okay, just because of the build and the look.
And they kind of work well together that way. Like Enzo does his little guy stuff and flies, right. And Cass is the guy that can do the big man stuff.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I just find it a little bit odd that they sort of are playing that stereotypical, New Yorker, type guy, but still as good guys. Whereas the guys they were wrestling, they're very sort of laid back and chill, but they're actually the heels. I thought that was a kind of an interesting flip-flop of what you might normally expect in that kind of match.
Yeah, I know what you mean, where Enzo and Cass are very over the top, and everyone is kind of going with their shtick word for word, what they're saying, and then the champions that are the heels come out, and you're like, meh.
Well, I would have dubbed this match The Sopranos versus the Quiet Men. Because Enzo and Cass are they're doing that obnoxious New York thing, but in a way that you kind of start to like them, and they do it in an appealing way.
Yeah, where it's catchy. But what's funny is they're not really playing it because they're actually from North Jersey.
Oh well, there you go.
So it's not really a stretch for them, and apparently they've been best friends since they were in high school.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, I had just found that out recently.
Okay.
So I guess that's maybe why they work so well, that they're familiar with each other.
Yeah, they've been building that rapport for a very long time.
Yeah, well, the match was fun. I just didn't understand the point, because it's like they keep dangling this carrot that they're going to win the belts. And then it's like they come within an eyelash, and it's like, no, not tonight.
Well, maybe I never know what Vince is thinking, like many people, but maybe eventually he'll, since they are good guys and they get a good response from the audience, maybe Vince will finally just cut his losses and let them win.
Yeah, the only reason I can think of that they're not winning the belts is because they're supposedly supposed to be moving up to the main roster in a few weeks.
Oh, okay.
That's the only thing that makes sense, but I didn't understand why they would even have the match then in the first place.
It's weird. It's hard to figure out, and frankly, I don't know if arranging a match between them and who I call the Quiet Men was a really good idea, because my concern would have been that, even though they're solid, those two guys are really, they're flatline. They're not exciting. And my concern would be that they would bring down Enzo and Cass with that. You follow me?
Yeah. And the other concern I had is if this is the first time you're watching Enzo and Cass on like a live special,
right,
and you're trying to build them up to be this big thing, and they do their spiel and everyone's doing it, but then you lose, it's like, well, then what the hell was the point?
Right, especially against a couple of guys that, as you mentioned, were cut from the Tully Blanchard mold.
Yes.
Guys that are actually not even exciting as heels, and really don't even really stir up dislike.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's just kind of like a flat line meh thing.
Yes, they're solid wrestlers, but personality-wise, they're really flat and flavorless. And
yeah, like if they're going to succeed, creator's going to have to find a way to get people to hate them.
We're going to have to write them a mean streak.
Yeah, that works. All right, moving on. Next match was Charlotte versus Natalya for the Divas Championship. This was really good too.
I agree.
The issue I have is that Natalya has not been on television enough and has been underused and underutilized, I think, in my opinion.
There are other divas who are far less interesting and far less skilled in the ring than her, who are getting a lot more airtime, and it's really starting to get frustrating.
Oh, I could imagine for her, yeah.
And even for the fans, we have to see this other dreck come in again and again and again. But I thought that she took part in a really memorable Divas Championship match last night, and maybe, I don't know, maybe in defeat she acquitted herself well enough that she'll get a little more airtime, you think?
It's possible, but it's just whoever knows what Vince is thinking.
Well, you don't know if there could be a personal angle to that, and if there is, forget it. She's going to be locked in a freezer.
Well, her husband broke his neck. I'd say within the last 6 months or so. It was a really bad injury. Apparently, they said only 5% of the people that have the injury ever survive, let alone recover.
That's a shame.
So I don't know if that after that happened, she was their manager.
Okay.
So I don't know after that if it's kind of like, well, we don't know what to do with you now, so we're just going to do nothing.
Yeah, I wonder if it might have been on her a little bit too, taking time away to spend time with his recovery.
Yeah, that's true too. I liked Charlotte here because she played up her heel persona very good in this one.
And I thought that was really important for her because A, she needs more of her own personality, and B, she needs to figure out a way to pull away from her dad's her dad's, sort of influence. Even if Vince is pushing that, she needs to find a way to break away from that a little bit.
Yeah.
You gotta talk for a minute though about Ric Flair getting decked in the face.
Yeah, that was amusing when he tried to interfere. When Natalya, I think, had Charlotte in the sharpshooter, was getting ready to finish her off. He got up on the ropes like he was going to do something, and Natalya just decked him.
That was worth the price of admission alone.
Yeah, that was amusing. But I like the way the finish happened, just for the simple fact of it was a good way to get people angry with Charlotte, because it was a heel type win where she cheated to win,
right?
And it keeps you angry at that person, and with her getting ready to have her triple threat match at WrestleMania.
It's a good setup, because now when she comes out later, everybody's going to be, she doesn't deserve to be here. Remember what she did to Natalya. So I have to admit, it's a pretty nice little lead-in.
Yeah, with 3 weeks to go, that's a good way to kind of build her up.
Yeah, nice job for once, creative.
Yeah, there you go. All right, next was Sami Zayn versus Stardust, your favorite guy with the Cosmic Key.
Yeah, hopefully the Cosmic Key that opens to a door with a room full of hungry lions.
Yeah.
I just want the Dusty Rhodes to be able to rest in peace.
I know, it's just so out of left field.
I really have a difficult time with that, but what did you think of the match, though? I know that you mentioned before that Zayn has gotten called up and they're going to push him pretty hard now.
Yes.
And how did he perform last night? What do you think of his overall style?
I like his style. I always said he reminds me a lot of Daniel Bryan, where he's the sympathetic underdog, that will never quit and won't give up. So he's very appealing.
Right.
But they had a phenomenal match. The only problem was it was the crowd, they were into it to a certain extent, but more so kind of yeah.
Do you think that did the match go on a little bit too long at all?
It might have gone a little too long. I mean, it was really good. Sammy got his famous Olay chants throughout, the match. But towards the end, you noticed it started to get a little quiet, and
right.
It's possible it could have went too long, but Sammy did eventually win with his haluva kick, so that was, where they wanted him to go.
Now, what do you think of Stardust's performance in that match, and where does he fit into this puzzle? I mean, and anything ever going to happen with him?
It was very good. A very, very good match. The problem with him is I don't know where that gimmick is going, because the guy can work his ass off.
Right.
Because he's reinvented himself several times under different things, as dashing Cody Rhodes when he wore the mask, when he broke his nose, which I thought was his best work. So I don't really know where they see him, because he has the talent to pull anything off that they want him to do.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that assessment of him. I just think that this shtick he's got going right now it's a dead end. I mean, it's like a one-man mummers parade. They need to do something with that.
Well, the rumors were, I don't know if this is going to happen, that he was going to fight Stephen Amell, the actor from the television show Arrow.
Oh, you're right. He's coming back, yeah.
That was their end game with him, I think. He was going to eventually fight him. I don't know if it's going to happen at WrestleMania or not. But they were leading up to those two fighting each other one-on-one.
How about that?
So I don't know if that's going to happen, in a few weeks, or what they're doing.
and maybe based on the outcome of that, maybe they'll decide what the heck to do with Stardom.
Yeah, maybe they're going to kill that character after that. I don't really know.
Give him an arrow through the heart. I wouldn't shed a tear.
Well, we know you wouldn't. All right, moving on. The most disappointing match of the night, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Bray Wyatt versus Brock Lesnar. I have to vent about this because the one thing that really annoyed me is Bray Wyatt comes out and he says, "Well, Brock Lesnar, he's beat John Cena, he's even beat The Undertaker, and he's beat everyone, but he's never beat me."
Okay, well
and then he goes, "I made a deal with the devil, so now it's going to be me and Luke Harper against Brock Lesnar." I'm like, well, you never fucking advertised that all week.
Right. I guess that's supposed to be the big surprise for the main event.
Yeah, well, and then they start the match, and Bray is the first person in, and as soon as the bell rings, he tags garbage beard Luke Harper and hides around the ring the entire match.
Unbelievable that, he didn't engage Lesnar even for a minute after all that.
Yeah, he would just look at him and act like he was going to do something and then pull away
Right. And Harper, he actually acquitted himself rather well. He left everything in the ring. I'll give him that.
I was very impressed with him because he literally threw everything he had at him.
He really did try, and I give him credit for that. And he kind of made Lesnar work for it. I mean, I wasn't just like a garbage match.
No, because he hit him with a couple super kicks and his famous discus clothesline that he has, and got him down for a 2.5 count. So that's something.
Yeah, I appreciate, Bray's team. They've all got good abilities in the ring, but I think the mistake that they made last night was not letting Bray engage Lesnar enough. Even if this is a setup for a future event, he should have been in there with him at least a little bit, in my opinion, anyway.
Right, and the other thing I've been reading, and I don't know, because you know how, rumors are,
right.
That this was, because what they did was, after the match, Bray kind of stood in the hallway, the rampway, where they come down,
right.
And Lesnar was headed like he was going to go get him, and Bray runs away. And then they pan back to Harper in the ring where he's looking ooh, what hit me?
Yeah.
And I was just that's strange that they would do that, where it was almost like they were purposely showing him all alone, where it's they were teasing maybe the family's going to turn on Bray.
Wow. Well,
I mean, I don't know if there's any truth to it, but it was just strange that they did that.
It is, yeah. It's not. I mean, it could just be a little cop tease, but yeah, that did kind of make you wonder.
Yeah. All right. Well, main event time. I know you were highly annoyed with this.
Well, I hope Vince McMahon is sending Dean Ambrose lots of dozens of roses for all the times he's screwed him.
Oh my God, it's terrible the way they do it, where it's they give you hope, and then it's nah, never mind.
See, this is another thing where I feel like Vince is clueless, because from what, we had this discussion before, that he doesn't think that these anarchic outsider, guys can really sell. And I think that's just naive.
Yeah, I agree, because Ambrose reminds me a lot of Roddy Piper in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I mean, you mean to tell me that they couldn't sell those anarchy symbol T-shirts, because they used the anarchy symbol a lot with him. I mean, they could put him on a tube of toothpaste and it would sell.
Yeah, I don't care what anyone says. He's their top babyface right now.
I'm telling you. I mean, his fans are passionate. There's a lot of them, and Vince just has this idea. And in the last show, we touched on it a little bit. What the wrestling audience likes and will buy into now is not the same as what they would have liked and bought into in 1986 or 1994.
Absolutely.
But I hate that. Well, all right, but if I could shift over to Triple H for a minute, I mean, I have to say he put in a good solid 15, 20 minutes. He really did a nice job for what it was worth.
Well, considering he hasn't been in the ring in almost a year.
Yeah, well, Ryback probably hooked him up with some Deca-Durabolin over the past 6 weeks to get him ready. But, Triple H, I have to say, that this was an act of sheer toolery, this match, and I'm very disgusted by it. But I will say that Triple H did perform well.
I was actually surprised at how well he did, because his match last year with Sting was not very exciting. It was like very labored, and you saw him gasping for air about like 10 minutes in, and he's, let me put you in a rest hold.
Exactly. Yeah, it didn't look like at all some of the, what you would almost want to call seniors matches that he's been involved in lately.
Yeah, no, because even when he was at the Rumble when you weren't here, he looked gassed in about 10 minutes.
Well, I mean, this is an opportunity for him to get back into good shape, because there's no sign that Vince is gonna let go of him.
No.
Vince is gonna milk him to death.
Well, and the thing that I always enjoy, and this is why it's a nightmare for Roman Reigns, the way they booked him for WrestleMania. He's in the main event. Triple H is going to get overwhelmingly cheered. One of the main reasons is because, and I've always enjoyed it, he always has cool fucking WrestleMania entrances.
True.
Like one year he was Conan the Conqueror, and then last year he did the whole Terminator thing. So it's always something different and unique what he does.
He does have great entrances. I will give him that.
So it's like, you do that, and then you just have Roman Reigns with his music come out of the crowd. It's like, well, what the fuck?
Yeah, and not only that, but it just kind of running down the hallway with absolutely no theatricality at all, and getting his ass booed off.
Oh my God, because they're trying so desperately to give Roman Reigns that moment where he wins the title and all the fireworks go off and all the confetti comes down and everyone's cheering, and it's not going to happen.
It's a Vince McMahon wet dream, Michael.
Yeah. Well, that's Braun Strowman next. That's his next wet dream. Because Vince has always loved big guys. Always has loved big guys.
Well, yeah, and I think Strowman is at least so far a very intriguing character, and just exactly how strong he is also kind of a mystery that I'm looking forward to seeing solved.
Right. Well, and the other thing I like about him is they're not having him talk like a damn novel. You know what I mean? He'll say, maybe 4 or 5 words, and that, like, this is the apocalypse or whatever, and it's just enough.
I have to teleport you back to one of the moments in wrestling that just killed my joy of life. When the when the Undertaker started to talk.
I remember we've talked about this where you were like in love with him when he didn't speak, and then as soon as he started talking, they ruined it for you.
And he opened his mouth, the TV set went off, and I grieved for about 6 months. I mean, I walked away from wrestling for a while. I hope they don't make the same mistake with Strowman Bread, because he's a pretty mysterious, nasty kind of a wrestler. And the thing about it is, he's not just a big slob up there like Andre or one of those guys. He's got some real athletic skill and some real wrestling acumen.
Well, the thing I was impressed with him, which is this part of the thing for guys is usually the hardest to do, is that he's got the facial expressions down.
He really does, and you're right. That's an underappreciated aspect of the wrestling game.
Like when you see him take that mask off, he's like, has like that snarly look or whatever, and
right.
That's hard for guys, especially that haven't been wrestling for a long period of time, to be able to get that down.
That's true, and I think another thing that he really does well is to flip that coin when he's wearing the mask. When a character's wearing a mask in the ring, they have to have a certain body language, because obviously you can't see their facial expressions. They got to have that sort of intimidating, body language, or else they're just going to look like some idiot who's wearing a mask.
Absolutely. Well, Vince's grand plan, from what I've read, is for Strowman later this summer to wrestle Brock Lesnar.
Oh, wow. I'm drooling just to hear that. Death in the ring, Michael.
That would be very interesting, because it'd be like two Mack trucks, slamming into each other.
What physics professors would call the irresistible force slamming into the immovable object.
Yeah, you did your Gorilla Monsoon impersonation there.
Oh, did I really?
That he always used to say that.
Oh, okay. Well, cheers to Gorilla. He knew what he was talking about, and I think that saying would be a great tagline for this match, because it's really going to be interesting to see how those two guys match up.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to do it, but that's the plan as of right this minute, because, Vince changes his mind like he changes his underwear.
Yeah, well, I think that it's a good idea, and I hope he sticks with it. Because Strowman is one of those guys that, even though, obviously he's in Bray's camp, he's got the juice to get out there on his own and make some noise and be very entertaining.
I agree. Him and Luke Harper. I think Luke Harper is very underappreciated.
I got to tell you, before last night, I saw Luke Harper as an unwashed T-shirt. But I'm starting to think that he's a little rat.
Oh my God, isn't that shirt?
What that shirt has been through, what kind of criminal acts have been performed in that shirt, I even want to know.
Well, and I read an article about that they asked him about that, and he's like, no, it's not the same shirt. I just like to, how did he word it? Get up a nice lather before my match, and then that's why it looks the way it does.
Yeah, okay.
I was just like, no thank you.
Yeah, leave the rest to our haunted imaginations, please.
and he was in the Indies for a long time, because he's, I want to say he's almost 40.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, so he's a journeyman.
Yeah, so the clock is really ticking on him.
Well, I hope they give him a push then, because he's a lot better than I originally thought.
Yeah, because he was really big in New York and New Jersey for a long time.
Oh, how about that?
But he always reminds me of the wrestler, I don't know if you're familiar with him, Bruiser Brody.
Yes.
it's probably the look.
Yeah, I would have to say so. There's a similarity there.
Not so much the ring style, because Brody really just liked to brawl.
Right.
Because Harper can pretty much do a lot of things, for a big man that are very impressive.
Yeah, he's got a lot. He's got a lot of moves. I think that's the thing that separates him from a lot of wrestlers who appear to fit into his mold.
Well, I'll tell you a story that'll annoy you about Vince, and then we'll get out of here.
Okay.
Harper had the Intercontinental title for a while, and he was wrestling Dolph Ziggler, and I believe it was in a ladder match.
Okay.
Well, before that, Vince decided to take the title off of Harper, and the reason he gave was because Harper when he spoke, didn't use a Louisiana accent like he was supposed to because he was with the Wyatt family. And I remember because I heard this on Chris Jericho's podcast, and Harper tried to convince him. He's like, well, Bray is from Louisiana, but he has followers everywhere, so why should I be stuck with the accent?
Right.
And he was like, pigeonhole. He's like, that's pigeonholing you.
Absolutely.
So Vince didn't want to listen to him about it, so he pulled Ziggler aside from the podcast that I listened to, and he said, well, let's just, tear it the fuck down tonight and have the best match on the damn card.
Mm-hmm.
And make them regret that they're taking the title off me.
Right.
So, and they really did. They had a phenomenal match.
Oh,
that's
so
it's just little things like that, that shows where Vince, really is at this day and time.
Another reason to hate, like a senile, petty old man,
Well, it seems like he's gotten more stubborn the older he's become.
Oh, definitely. Just when you think that wasn't possible.
Yeah, and that's scary.
It is. And if can it get worse? My God, who knows?
Ugh. All right, well, everyone, we're getting off of here. Feel free to subscribe, follow us on social media. The social media links are below. I will be back on Tuesday with a Raw review, and until then, I'll see you next time.
Take care, everybody.